Hi everybody, welcome back to Roman Town. So you may have seen a short video that I posted there. A couple of items have come through, which is brilliant. It means I can now really crack on with doing the upper levels and laying the track. Now I've got a simulated area just here, but one of the main things that I've been waiting for, I've ordered these for a while, and when I was at a couple of shows, I did see if I could find some of the 68s in the DRS logo. And as it happened, it looked like Dapol will re-releasing these, and I duly placed my order with an online store, and suddenly I got an email saying it's arrived and it's ready for shipping. And when I went and checked it, wow, so was the concrete track. Now these are used, I believe, on some of the nuclear flasks. I've got a set of nuclear wagons from Scale, which I've never used, but I got them at Christmas, and I thought, well, they normally do it in push-pull, and I think there is some barrier wagons as well, but I haven't got those. But I thought, there you go, I'll get it, fearless, but I just couldn't resist it, and I ended up picking up a second, which is Vigilant. So there it is, there's a second one. Now I can't afford two sound chips at the moment, so I'm just gonna have to use one of them. And I had a look around, and I went to my regular place that I went to normally, Digitrains. It took a little bit too long to respond, and I was a little bit eager, and also, to be honest, they didn't have the Zimo sound chip in stock that I wanted. And I ended up going to YooChoos instead. I spoke to them, well, emailed. John was brilliant at coming back, and I've asked him to make a couple of mods to it. I hope he's done, or he said he has done, the uncouple shuffle, which I'll show you if it's all working, and away you go. Anyway, let me show you what I got sent. I'm really impressed. So I received this in the post today, and I bought some black tack as well, but what mostly impressed me, and I'll show you now, obviously it came in a really nice clear packet, and John did turn this around really quickly. I will admit, he thought he wouldn't be able to do the slight CV changes that I was asking for in time, but he did manage to do it. So let's remove the black tack. So I picked up a rail exclusive speaker, recommenders that's going to be interested, and I got the new Zimo MS440C. And the new Zimos, if you don't know, they now do 16-bit sound, so they're meant to be of a better quality. Now what also impressed me was he's already pre-wired up the capacitor for me, so I've already got a kind of stay alive. Although it might be a smallish stay alive, but I've already got something already wired up, so that's fantastic. The other thing that came, which was super impressive, was a really nice piece of paper with all the information on it. It comes with all of the functions, and he's added in here a couple of things I asked for. He's double checked that the halos worked. We've also got the stable fronts, red lights for front and rear if it's parked up. And the other thing I asked him for was, can we do the uncoupling? So he's done that for me as well, and he's made a note that I should put the shunt mode on also. So a very comprehensive bit of information. Not only that, but also in it he sends out everything that is in the CVs on the chip, which is also, I mean, that's just brilliant. So you've got every CV as it's set at the moment. Fantastic. It also gives you a little bit of information about the colours, if you're running wires, what the colours are, and you've also got how to hard reset it, and analog mode, and addressing, and function mappings. There's also some stuff inside as well, if you're running smoke generators and motor control. Just a really good pieces of content, and then this little bit as well, some useful tips. Fantastic. So anyway, I'm looking forward to putting this in and seeing how it all plans out. So before I open up this model, this is how it came out of the box, although the front wiper here was actually missing. It was in there, I had to re-glue that back in, and once I take it apart, I'm going to add a driver. You can see you've got a lot of pipework detail already in there straight away, which is fantastic, and that's the heating, electrical heating cable, I guess. You plug that into your coaches. From the look of it, the overall paintwork on there, well, to my eyes, looks really good. Looks nicely detailed, colour looks really good, and all the text is nice and crisp. There's lots of information on the lower parts of the locomotive, and it generally just looks a really lovely model. And from above, again, it looks equally as impressive. The covers on those fans look nicely detailed. I think overall, for £135, it's a really nice model. From my understanding of reading the instructions, you can remove the 4 little holders in place. The best option is to use some card, slide it down either side and remove those little clips, or push it out, and then the whole unit should, in theory, just come apart. There you go. It was quite as straightforward as they said. The clips weren't quite where I expected them to be, but hopefully you can see they're there, there, there and there. So, and it's got some little metal connections at the top here to push down onto these connections as well. So I think getting a driver in is going to be a tad harder than I anticipated. I was expecting that to come out quite easily so I could get the driver in, I guess, one step at a time. They do say as well in the instructions that you can take this vent off the top here and you can access to those 2 switches nice and easily. So here is the DCC section that you need to look at, and there are some information about the switches as well. The speaker is going to go just there. It's actually got a couple of clamps that you just have to undo and clamp it in place, which is quite neat. And then you just have to solder it into the 2 spots for the speakers. Looking at the instructions, switch 1 and 2 are both in the on positions, meaning that the lights will come on when leading. Switch 3 is at the lower section. Position 1 should be, if you want it to be a 4 or 6 function device, it needs to be 1, which is up. And then switches 4 and 5, which are these ones just here, I believe are not used when switch 3 is moved into the up position. So here is the speakers. You've got to solder those on there. They look like they've already got a bit of solder on them actually, but maybe they haven't. Got a touch, a bit of soldering on there, and we should be good to go. I can't specifically see a plus or minus. Those wires are a bit of a pain because they're just over the top of the chip, so wiggling on and off will be a bit of a problem. So I just wiggled that gently. It doesn't feel like it's moving, but it certainly did in the end. So the blank is just up here and the blank is just up there. So it can't go on that way because of the blank. It's got to go on that way. Don't know whether those wires should be moved either side. Yeah, just like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the speaker on first. I've just soldered the speakers just here. Now I'm just going to place the chip in. So that's slotted on nice and simply there. Now I'm just going to push it down onto the pins. There we go. And now I've just got left my capacitor, which I believe I can probably just use a bit of black tack just to store here. certainly plenty of depth on this side. So I've used a bit of black tack just to put that capacitor just there for the time being. That shouldn't move. I'll use some sellotape in a minute just to try to bundle these wires up a little bit better. But I'm just going to put it on the track straight away and see if it even works. I'm going to say getting the cab out was a little bit more difficult than I expected, but there is a couple of little notches just down here, and I did in the end pop it out. I thought originally that this plate had to come out just down here, but it didn't. That's got the LED for the cab in it. You do have to remove this, but this was literally it wasn't even glued in, so it just was push fit. So I'm going to try putting that back in. Hopefully that's not going to move. And I've got a little figure to add to the cab, and I'm going to glue that in and reassemble it all. I'm going to use some super glue. I've just popped it onto a piece of plastic cocktail stick. Going to collect a little bit and pop it on the bottom of my driver. Like so, and try not to stick it on my hands. Hopefully that is going to be sufficient for my requirements in the cab, and I'll leave that a little bit to set and I can reassemble everything. Replacing the cabs were a little bit harder than I expected. You do have to just pull the body shrouds a little bit and you can clip it in. So it does make it a little bit more stressful, is probably the best way of saying it, but I got the driver in there, as you can see. Replacing the body shell, well, there's only 4 little clips on it, but I did find I was still struggling a little bit with the capacitor. I had to move that around and stick it in place with some black tack. But the rest of the place, it went in okay. The speaker, again, you couldn't use the original clips because it is much taller. That particular speaker model that I've got is higher, so therefore you have to remove those clips. But again, I've stuck that in with a tiniest amount of black tack just to hold it in place. So before I do any running in the loco, I'm just going to look at a couple of the functions that I've got available on here. F0 allows me to turn the lights on. And as you can see, the rear lights are not on. But by pressing F6, I can turn the rear lights on independently. Fantastic for being able to pull anything from freight to coaches. I can turn them on and off as and when required. Now also on the front, we've also got the ability to turn the halos on and off, which is on F12. Halos are now on and the halos are off. You can also just have the halos on by turning the halos on F12, and then by turning the lights off on 0. And as you can see, that is just the halos. One other neat little trick that we have here is the ability to put all of the red lights on at a time. So if the locomotive is parked up. Now this is on function 22 for me. So I need to turn the halos off. So let me just go back and turn off the halos on 12. And now you can see we have got reds on both ends of the locomotive. Going back to F22, I'm going to turn them off, so the locomotive is effectively ready to start. We're going to go back and we're going to turn halo's on. We're going to turn the lights on. And we're going to turn the rear lights on because it's not pulling anything, as we can see. So now we can try out some of the sounds. Let's start the locomotive up and see what it sounds like. If I give it one speed step forward, the sound does raise up. So this locomotive does come with active braking on F2. We do have a number of horn sounds here, and on F3 we have this horn. And F4 we have horn version 2. F5 is clag. F7 is just a notch up feature. I'm not going to show that right now, but that would just rev up the engine. And then on F8 we have a air release. F9 is the guard's whistle. And then we have rail echo on F10. F11 is the compressor. F13 is an announcement.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform and take care when stepping down from the train.
F14 is wheel flange. F15 is the rail clack sound. F16 is set off 2, which I'm not sure. Seems to be a different pattern of revving the engines. F17 is another air release. F18 is horn 6. F19 is the uncouple mode, which I'll show separately, and F20 is the shunt mode, so it reduces the speed by half and reduces a lot of the inertia settings. So now we're into the F21 area. We've got another horn. F23 is another announcement.
Train on platform 2 is ready to depart. Please don't clear the doors.
F24 is another horn alternative. as is 25. 26 is the interesting one. 26 is what they class as speed lock. Here you can now change the engine revs by using the controller. So I've turned F26 on, and I can increase the sound of the engine by using my controller and bringing them back down. F27 and 28 simply decreases and increases the volume. That's quite a funny horn. So there you go. That is all of the functions on the Class 28 with the sound chip from YooChoos. I'm quite happy with that. There was one little thing where the sound does drop a little bit when it starts off, and as you heard on the shutdown, but apart from that, I think that works well. I actually don't really know what a 68 sounds like off the top of my head, so I'm kind of hoping that is as good as it could be. So here is a little bit of the 68 running around my layout. I'd already done the 30 minutes of running it in both directions, and well, this runs really well. I mean, I didn't really pay attention. I was trying to build some retaining walls at the time, but it just went round the track without fault. It just ran and ran and round in both directions. I never had any problems whatsoever. It's a great model if you really want a Class 68, and it's well worth the money. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, and hit the like button also. Always helps with the old recommendations. If you've already subscribed, thanks very much, and thank you very much to all the recent subscribers as well. Hope to see you again on another video. Bye for now, and keep well.